Happy weekend, everybody. Saturday. And it's the day after Valentine's Day, so it is February 15th. Happy weekend, everybody. This is Denise from Dobby Books. And today I'm going to show you my library finds. So, first, I'm going to do my regular books, and then I'm going to show you what I've added to my Newbery Medal Winners collection. So, let's get going. This book I purchased on eBay because I heard about it in my history class, and I thought, wow, this is an interesting story. I have to read it. It's by Judith R. Walkowitz. It is published by the University of Chicago Press, and it's entitled City of Dreadful Delight: Narratives of Sexual Danger in Late Victorian London. And let me see. It's covering various things, but there's a story in here about a woman whose husband wanted to commit, this is Victorian England, a husband who wanted to commit his wife to an asylum, not because she was mentally ill, but because she was a nuisance wife, in his opinion. And this woman decided to fight back. So she started writing to the newspapers and, I guess, making her situation known and applying it to other women in Victorian England who were undergoing the same sort of situation. And there were other things going on in Victorian England at the time. Spiritualism had really taken hold of the upper middle classes, which created a big stinky poo with the scientific community, who really poo-pooed the idea. And everything just sort of got entangled with that story. And that's the story that I'm looking for in this book. It also covers other things. I mean, this is under the category of history and women's studies, but the summary in the back says this: from tabloid exposés of child prostitution to the grisly tales of Jack the Ripper, narratives of sexual danger pulsated vigorously through Victorian London. Expertly blending social history and cultural criticism, Judith Walkowitz shows how these narratives reveal the complex dramas of power, politics, and sexuality being played out in late 19th century Britain, and how they influenced the language of politics, journalism, and fiction. This ought to be interesting. The next one I got, now this I did get at the library, so let me skip and go to the one that I ordered. Here's another one that I ordered. And this I originally ordered because I'm doing my capstone on Philip Pullman. He's the writer of Historic Materials, and you saw me in an earlier video when I was reading through The Golden Compass, and now I'm reading His Subtle Knife. Well, I'm doing a capstone on him. I purchased this book hoping it would give me some insight. I'm not too sure now. It's entitled Philip Pullman, Master Storyteller, A Guide to the Worlds of Historic Materials. And this is by Claire Squires. And on the back, let me see if there's anything here I can share with you. All right, Philip Pullman, Master Storyteller, is a major study of Pullman's writing. Claire Squires, one of Pullman's most acclaimed critics, assesses the trilogy's thematic treatment of politics and science, as well as the religious controversy caused by its publication. And that's what my focus is going to be on with my capstone. She considers in depth Pullman's development of storytelling both as a theme and as a form of morality of the trilogy, and examines his Dark Materials' intertextuality and the ways in which it plays with genre. A lengthy biographical section develops links between Pullman and the man and his writing. And that's exactly what I need right there, is some sort of a biographical context, because there really is no biography on Philip Pullman. So I'm just sort of trying to find what I can. So hopefully this book will provide me those little snippets that I need. And this is purchased by who? Continuum Books. Okay. Now the next one I got. Now the remaining books are all library finds that I got today. The first one is an older edition of the Norton Critical Editions. This is the second edition of Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. And what I love about the Norton Critical Readers is the literary criticism that's offered, by other literary critics. That's repetitive. And I love to read those after I read the story, because if you read it beforehand, it gives too much away. Let's see if I could find a snippet. It says, this revision of the Norton Critical Edition has made it possible to give representation to the works on Swift and the travels that have appeared during the last decade. The section of criticism, while retaining all the essays from the first edition, has been enriched with new essays by Alan Bloom, W.B. Carnachan, R.S. Crane, Nigel Dennis, Paul Fussell Jr., C.J. Rawson, and Edward W. Rosenheim Jr. New to this edition is a section consisting of the 5 delightful poems, Verses on Gulliver's Travels by Pope, which appeared initially in the 1727 edition. The section of correspondence has been enlarged to include more of Swift and to introduce the voices of Pope, Gay, and Arbuthnot, who record their own and London's reactions to this most remarkable of volumes. The text of Swift's letters is based on Harold Williams's monumental edition of the correspondence, and they've revised the bibliography. So in here, it includes the correspondence of Swift with various other individuals, well-known individuals. So that's going to be really neat to see. The next one that I purchased, now, of course, I'm always looking for Newbery Medal winners, and I saw this title, and I thought, I think I've heard of this. Is this on the list? And I looked it up. I have my folded lists. I keep them with me in my purse usually, just in case I'm at a bookstore and I can find another classic or another Newbery Medal winner. I take those lists with me into the library, but it didn't have this on there. It's The Education of Little Tree, a true story by Forrest Carter. It's not a Newbery Medal winner, but when I did a little research on it, apparently when this book was published, there was some controversy. People were questioning the integrity of the author. Was this really, an autobiographical sketch of his young life? So that made it interesting enough. It talks about a Cherokee boyhood in the 1930s. It's not really giving you a summary, but what I also find interesting, I want to share with you guys. I'm going to give you a closer look at the cover. It looks like it's pastels on a paper that has like that rough surface, that textured surface. I'm trying to get the glare out of there. Can you see the texture on there? I love that. Let's see if it will focus. I don't know, but there you go. You can see it on there. Oh, I love that. I thought that's a great illustration right there. The next one I got, for those of us who grew up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, this author's name is going to be very familiar, I think also to younger readers. Judy Blume is the author, and this is a classic Judy Blume title, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And this is a basic growing up story for young girls. I wish I could have read this when I was a young girl growing up, but I was in Catholic schools, so this was not on the shelves. So the next one I got, I'm adding this to my classics, is Jonathan Edwards, Basic Writings. This is published a while ago, I can tell just by looking at the paper. It's a little yellowed. This copyright is 1966, New American Library. But you know what? It's in great condition. The spine is very good. It's strong. It's not wobbly. The papers are clean. It just has the yellowing, which I guess I can live with. And this is a Meridian edition, so I'm not sure. And Jonathan Edwards was a Puritan pastor. He wrote a lot of things, and he's part of much of the early American history. So this is something that I wanted to add to my American history shelf, and that's where it's going to go. Again, Jonathan Edwards, Basic Writings, and it doesn't say who it was edited by. Okay. Next one. This is Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams. It's kind of thick. And although I'm not really into the Barnes and Noble classic editions, whether they're paperback or hardback, for some reason they just don't draw me in. I purchased this. If I like it, I don't know, maybe I'll get a really nice one. But look, this is in very good condition. This is the mildest of yellowing on the pages. The inside pages are clean. The font is comfortable for my eyes, and the spacing between the sentences is also, something I look for, and it's just fine. And the spine is good. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one when I get to that point in my chronological history studies. The next one is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, The Social Contract. This is an older Penguin Classics edition. And it's translated and introduced by Maurice Cranston. These are the famous opening words of a treatise which, from the French Revolutionary Terror to the dictatorship of the proletariat, has been interpreted as a blueprint for totalitarianism. But in The Social Contract, Rousseau was at pains to stress the connection between liberty and law, freedom and justice, arguing that the ruler is the people's agent, not its master. He claimed that laws derived from the people's general will. I didn't read that too well. Laws derived from the people's general will. Yet, in preaching subservience to the impersonal state, he came close to defining freedom as the recognition of necessity. So this is going to go in my little classics collection. And what's the next one I got? This one by Sandra Cisneros, The House on Mango Street. A common book a lot of us have, and of course, me being, Latin American heritage on my mother's side, of course, I want to have as many of the books as I can. And I thought I had this book, but when I looked on my little app on my phone, the one I have is the one I have in Spanish, and this is the one I purchased for my mom, and she read through it. I tried to remember, because I would always ask her after she read a book, what'd you think? I don't think she was like, sometimes when mom is dealing with modern Latinas, she doesn't really relate to them like she would, the former generation Latinas. So I think she thought it was okay. I think I'd like it better than she ever did, but that's how it goes. So The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. And it says, it's told in a series of vignettes, stunning for their eloquence. The House on Mango Street is Sandra Cisneros' greatly admired novel of a young girl growing up in the Latino section of Chicago. Acclaimed by critics, beloved by children, their parents and grandparents, taught everywhere from inner city grade schools to universities across the country, and translated all over the world, it has entered the canon of coming-of-age classics. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. It tells the story of Esperanza Cordero, whose neighborhood is one of the harsh realities and harsh beauties. Esperanza doesn't want to belong, not to her rundown neighborhood and not to the low expectations the world has for her. Esperanza's story is that of a young girl coming into her power and inventing for herself what she will become. I mean, really, it sounds like a fantastic story. So I'm looking at this one. It's a short read. I could do this in one sitting. So this is fantastic. All right. All right. Now, all the rest of the books are the Newbery Medal winners. The first one is Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Paterson. It's Jess Aaron's greatest ambition is to be the fastest runner in the 5th grade. He's been practicing all summer and can't wait to see his classmates' faces when he beats them all. But on the first day of school, a new girl boldly crosses over to the boys' side of the playground and outruns everything. That's just part of the story there. The copyright on this is 1977, so this was the 1978 Newbery Medal winner. What I love about this book that it caught my eye is that the original young person who had this book put their sticker on here and wrote their name. And that to me says that this young reader loved books, enjoyed books. And I think it's like, almost feels like an honor that I've got her book now. I just thought that was just beautiful. So Bridge to Terabithia. The next one, The Wheel on the School by Minder de Jong, pictures by Maurice Sendak. The copyright on here is 1954, so this was the 1955 Newbery Medal winner. And I've looked for this online, and I can't find it anywhere. So maybe it's now out of print. But I think this is wonderful with Maurice Sendak's illustrations. Let me see if I can find one. Oh, other than the one on the front cover, right? I think those are delightful, delightful drawings. Let's see what it's about. Why did the storks no longer come to the little Dutch fishing village of Shora to nest? It was Lena, one of the 6 school children, who first asked the question, and she set the others to wondering. And sometimes when you begin to wonder, you begin to make things happen. So the children set out to bring the storks back. They had to overcome many obstacles, including the fierce and threatening sea. But they wouldn't give up. And soon their determination and their vision got the whole village working until at last the dream began to come true. I wonder if this was translated. I guess not. But what a sweet book. I'm looking forward to this one. The next one, now I've known of this title for a while now, but I'm glad I got it. It's by Karen Cushman, The Midwife's Apprentice. I love the cover. It's just perfect. This copyright is 1995, so this was the 1996 Newbery Medal winner. Right? Yes. And this says, one frosty evening, a girl who knows no home, no parents, and no name but Brat finds shelter and warmth in a farmer's dung heap. There, Jane, the village midwife, finds her. So it is that Brat, now called Beetle by her new mistress, begins her career as a midwife's apprentice. I just love these stories. I've never outgrown these stories. I'm going to have fun. The next one is an older one as well. This is a Puffin Newbery Library edition. Is this metal? Yes. Rabbit Hill by Robert Lawson. Even if you look at the cover, it looks kind of dated, doesn't it? Again, this is in very good condition. Tiny bit, the smidgenest tear on the front cover, but you really can't notice it. No writing. It's wonderful. Mild yellowing. And what is this about? Oh, wait a minute. First, let's find out what year it got its award. Copyright 1944. So this was the 1945 Newbery Medal winner. It says, new folks coming, mother, father, new folks coming into the big house, shouted little Georgie the rabbit. All the animals of the hill were very excited about the news and wondered how things would change. Would the new folks bring dogs, traps, and guns, or would they be planting folks who would care for the land and grow rich crops? It had been years since there had been a garden at the house. Oh, what a cute story. Oh my gosh, this is great. The next one, a lot of you are going to know this one, Caddy Woodlawn by Carol Ryrie Brink. Isn't that a great cover? I have to take that off, though. That's bugging me. This is, let me see, copyright. It's there. Copyright 1963. This book is as old as I am. 1963. So this was the 1964 Newbery Medal winner. Caddy Woodlawn is a real adventurer. She'd rather hunt than sew and plow than bake, and tries to beat her brother's dares every chance she gets. Caddy is friends with Indians, who scare most of the neighbors who, like her mother and sisters, don't understand her at all. Boy, can I relate to that. Caddy Woodlawn. The next one, a lot of you are going to know this name. This is another classic, Johnny Tremain by Esther Forbes. And the copyright on this one is (1943). So this was the 1944 Newbery Medal winner. And let's see what it says on the back. Johnny Tremain, a young apprentice silversmith, is caught up in the danger and excitement of Boston in the 1770s, just before the Revolutionary War. Johnny can't help being swept along by the powerful currents that will lead to the Boston Tea Party and the Battle of Lexington. But even more gripping than living through the drama of revolutionary Boston is the important discovery Johnny makes about his own life. I think, well, let's see, Johnny Tremain. What did I say the copyright was? 1943. I think we did have this in our school. I don't remember reading it. I'm sure some of the boys read it. And the new cover now has like a headshot, profile shot of this, like this buff looking young man. I don't know. I like this one better. That looks great. The last one, or second to last, is Getting Nearer to Baby by Audrey Columbus. And this is a Newbery Honor book, so it didn't quite make the medal. And this one, it says right on the front, a 2000 Newbery Honor book. And the back says, after Baby died, everything changed. Willa Jo is up on the roof at Aunt Patty's house. She went up there to see the sunrise, and little sister followed her, like she always does. But by mid-morning, Willa Jo is still up on that roof, and she knows it wasn't just the sunrise that brought her there. The trouble is, once she climbs up, Willa Jo can't seem to come down. Coming down would mean she'd have to explain about Baby. And how can she explain? Doesn't that sound like a sweet story? There we go. Getting Near to Baby. So those are all the Newbery Medal winners and the ones I ordered. I'm just going to show you this last one here. I think it's a duplicate. I think I already have this. Rene Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy. These are these the, the Hackett Publishing publishes really affordable editions of certain books, and it works great. And I noticed after I purchased it, I don't know, I think there were a lot of books I had, and I thought I had looked through this, and I really hadn't, but there's highlighting in it. So it's going back. I don't want other people's thoughts on here, just mine. So that is it. I have 2 stacks here because there's no way I can hold up both. Here's the first stack. Goodness sakes. The first stack here, there's all the titles. How many are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 titles there. And of the Newbery Medal winners, 1, 2, 3, 7. 9 and 7, so I have 16 books. These are the Newbery Medal winners. Those are my titles. And of my library trip today, so of the 17 books, 2 of them were not from the library. I spent $13. Not bad, not bad. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in a few days. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.